is No Gifts, Please, the parenting podcast by the pair with no real gifts, but a whole lot of gumption. Hey everyone, I'm Steve Noviello.
And hello there, I'm Jenny Anchondo.
You know, if you're not watching us on YouTube, today is the day to put on the YouTube.
I said, is this laser too much?
What is this like it's like a hot pink Lurex cheetah, sparkly.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
I've got my glam on a Saturday morning to record the
she
podcast
might be part
with you.
of the, Cougar Moms group text, but that is pink cheetah.
I was hoping your mom was in town and maybe she could put me in for a Rockette audition or something. Which, by the way, when she going to be here? But my mom was actually just requesting an interview with your mom. She says, I want to hear more about the Rockettes.
Oh my gosh. We should have her on.
Let's work on that.
It's funny. By the way, remember several episodes ago, we talked about that summer camp and I went home.
That's what spurred it.
And
I
asked her, I was like, how did and apparently she said, I used to bring you in this. I didn't get you tickets. I didn't buy any of those tickets. I would just bring you into the auditorium before I had to be backstage and see an open seat and just put you in it.
Well, and I had so many questions I didn't realize she was doing this after having a child.
Oh yeah.
I thought
so. My mom started with the Rockettes when she was like 16 or 17, and then just for a little bit, and then when she got married at 19 and had started having kids in her early 20s, she stopped. And then I was, well into school, but when she went back, she auditioned and went back and got on, and then did the Christmas show, and then because she had audition at that point every year, but that was when I was in summer camp, so I was probably 10 or 12 or something like that. But then I remember also in high school, going into the music hall with my girlfriends.
You are not a woman, so you're not adding up having child, body, dancing, performing, all these things. This is like her generation of Dolly Parton showing up at the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving Day with the Cowboys uniform on.
How amazing was that?
Iconic, which is why your mom also iconic.
We should have her on.
Children.
I would love to.
I don't know. I just feel like post-children, I just really wasn't up on stage in that type of outfit. But who knows? Yeah.
Well, and it also kind of brings up our topic for today because that's how my mom parented, right?
was just watch
just
me dance.
Come, you're sitting there, and I have to say, we're talking today about there's a lot of advice these days for being, which is ironic that we would have, be like, there's so much advice out there.
Too much advice.
Meanwhile,
we should start a podcast.
And give people advice with no,
education.
Even though we have no background for it. I am so sick sometimes, and I don't know if do you follow the parenting advice people like on Instagram?
All of them. I am completely neurotic.
Oh my God. Don't you ever feel like it robs you of the ability to cultivate your own parenting style? Because I'm so, all of these don't say this to your child, say this instead. Don't do, it's just, I feel like I'm constantly being told I'm doing it wrong.
Well, you are. No, see, I'm the opposite. I receive it and I'm like, oh, thank God somebody said something because I don't know what I was going to say. Or I'll think I'm a big training person. If you don't know how to do a thing, learn how to do the thing and then try to be the best at the thing. So if parenting's the thing, I guess I'm welcoming it. And of course it can become incredibly confusing from, ranging from how to get your children to sleep all the way up to how to, which school to go to and how to speak to them when they're sad and all those different things. But I probably have the opposite reaction, which is a toxic amount of intake of the information, which results in me Brighton has an issue and I'm like, hold on. What did Dr. Becky good inside say?
Actually, I do like Dr. Becky. So yeah.
But I just find it to be helpful because if we don't, and I've got no beef with the way my parents.
So fake.
I know.
It's like these people who are like, here I am putting cereal in clear containers, and you know what I'm thinking to myself? What happens when you have just a little bit of cereal left and you need to go buy a new box, but you now have too much to fit in the container? Do I now have to store the clear container and the box of 1/4 full cereal? How does that work?
Okay,
who is living like this?
I do have beef with those people. I don't have beef with the people that tell me the lines, the one-liners to say to your child to try to help them, become a normal person. But I definitely have beef with the people that buy all the things and then put all the things into a new. I'm just like, what are you doing all day? Here? How do you do that?
I will say I have such envy of the hidden pantry trend that's happening at home building right now, where it's it's a cabinet, but it's actually a whole nother room where you can have all of your, things and appliances. But then you go in and she's like, look, I have a wire basket full of fresh eggs. No, you don't. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what. Maybe in Idaho when you were growing up and cutting down your own Christmas tree, your mom had the.
But that we came by that naturally. We didn't buy it on Amazon.
Correct.
So that's different.
Correct.
That's just like there is a wire basket because
you know
you're in
whose
Idaho.
fault that is? The people who made the first people who decided fake green apples were going to be a thing years ago. Remember that trend?
Yes.
Those were the people that did all of this to us.
All of it.
Yes, all of it.
All of it.
I'm not joking.
That's a huge claim. Fake Apple people.
There it is. I also think the people who invented the C-Class Mercedes were the downfall of society, but that's,
I don't even know. I wouldn't even, I don't even have a reference.
Well,
I've never driven one.
My thing is, listen, we are now making something that used to be something you had to achievable for anybody who has $30,000 and walks into a car dealership.
Oh,
right?
You think Mercedes has become too commonplace?
Pedestrian? I do. I guess I do.
Well, I'm glad I don't have
I
one.
think it's like the beginning of the everybody gets a trophy culture, right?
Oh, so Mercedes was your trophy.
So for some, don't you think so? For some people, yes.
Yeah.
I've been to your house.
I mean, I have other trophies. I guess it's in my mind.
You live in one.
In my mind, it was a different thing. Like the closet. I have a Barbie dream closet.
You do.
Legitimately,
You do.
they had that exhibit up in Frisco, and I was like,
yeah, I'll take that.
That's
check.
it. I just need a little more pink, and mine looks like a replica. But I hadn't, I guess, but not. I don't know. I guess I wasn't as much of a Mercedes person. But that's so funny. You've got beef with the C-Class, and I'll remind myself, should I ever be down on my luck, never try to keep up with the Joneses by getting the C-Class.
But why not buy a nicely, beautifully equipped Honda Civic? You know what I mean? Like, anyway, but regardless,
Lord.
I will say that. There's one piece of advice that I remember there was actually a therapist years ago who said, we were talking about childhood and blah, blah, blah. And he said, parents, I'm going to screw it up, but essentially he was saying that a child's behavior, whether or not it's right or wrong, is more often based on their parent's mood than the child's behavior. And I was like, now that I'm a parent, do you find that like Jacob or Hudson could do whatever, maybe they're being silly, putting on their pajamas or whatever.
Okay.
And sometimes I am totally here for it, right? And I'm just wacky with them. And other times it's been a day and I'm like, just put on your effing pajamas, right?
But you had set the standard already that it's okay to be silly when putting on your pajamas.
And I have to stop and be like, okay, the only thing that changed here, Steve, is your mood, not them, right? So now here they are doing the exact same thing they always do, but because I'm in a different mood, suddenly the behavior is intolerable.
That's true.
Do you find that
I
at
put
all?
that on my entire family, actually. Like, yes. Like I wouldn't have said anything to them, but like we have a really robust and kind of long evening routine. And sometimes I'll come home and I'm like, oh, we got to get it done because I'm trying to get this other thing
What's
done.
so long about your evening?
I mean, it starts with me cooking dinner. First of all,
Right. We've been through that.
Generally me cooking dinner, and then we go for a long walk. The dog gets walked twice a day.
The whole family goes?
The whole family goes.
Oh, that's nice.
And so Heath and I will catch up. Sometimes Brighton gets a podcast if it's been taken away for one reason or another. Then she has to listen to us talk or, chat with us. Then we come back. Then she calls her grandma and grandpa for books on the portal. Every night. Yep.
Oh my God, I suck at being a parent.
No. No, I do not recommend. I'm not Dr. Becky saying do this. I am saying probably should have reined it in, but now here we are. So then books, bath. Heath does bath.
So,
then books.
Wait a second. So there is a video book reading with grandma and grandpa.
Yep.
Then a bath. Then there is a at-home book reading with Heath.
Me.
You and Heath. Do you switch off books? Switch off nights on that?
No, he's always bath. I'm VP education.
And he's VP bath.
VP
and
bath.
Paper towels.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know a nursery rhyme. Like, so we'll do singing. Now she'll read to me.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So, that's sort of, but occasionally she's really tired and she's like, I think I just want you to read to me.
Okay. Like in our house, I'm like, oh my God, gosh, I hope you two pick the same book tonight. So I only have to read one.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll be reading books for a few years longer than you.
Yeah.
And then we stretch. Then we do our deep breaths.
Oh my God.
And then there's like a long kiss series of like, blowing kisses and leaving. Oh, and then she gets to keep 2 books in her bed. I'm sure Dr. Becky would disapprove for so many reasons.
How long does this take? When does it start?
Well, so dinner's always at 6.
Yeah, but we eat at 6 as well.
And I would say we're done by 8.
Okay.
So it's like, I mean, it's We keep it moving.
But I don't hear, and then we all sit on the couch and watch TV.
No, we just are not a screen time family. I don't know. There's no time for it with all the stretching and deep breathing and calling grandma.
I mean, if we're doing calisthenics and yoga on the front lawn, who's got time for TV?
I want her to have that as like a coping skill.
TV?
Deep breathing. That I do. Heath and I have that after then he plays video games and I do whatever I want to do. And then we watch TV.
Okay. Together, the two of you.
If he's not still playing video games, yeah.
I love that he plays video games.
Do you?
I do.
I
just think it's...
Why?
I don't know, because it's just, I think your husband has a very youthful spirit. And I think that he likes toys. I mean, he's got a dirt bike.
He legitimately is.
He's a Trans Am in the garage.
He's very childlike.
I love it.
And it makes it fun.
It makes it super fun.
So circling back to your thing is like, sometimes I like to be fun with him but then I won't tell them that, wait, dinner's not on the table and we need to cut something out. And instead I'm just ticked off. Right. And I'm just like rushing through it and they're like, well, what's the deal? Right.
Why are you so angry?
Told them,
right. Yes.
We need to cut out the stretching for tonight.
There's no yoga tonight.
Yeah, no yoga tonight. But I always do let her call grandparents because that actually gives us time to kind of like clean up from dinner and stuff.
Right. Because she is, we were really good about that. Because Doug's mom lives here, but especially during COVID when my parents couldn't see the kids every night because so Doug and I do one night, you're either dishes and book or your bath. Right. So, and we switch off every other night. So
which one do you prefer?
I prefer bath.
Because it's one thing versus the...
not that it's one thing, but it's earlier.
It's earlier. That's where Heath wins. Correct. That's where I'm a little bit annoyed by our situation because I always end later.
Yes. Like the person who has to, when we go upstairs to brush teeth, like the person who gets to be like, all right, good night, guys. And then the other dad has to stick around for the book. It's kind of like,
I do get a little resentment. Like when I can hear him out there already just like
on his dirt bike
or like talking to people
donuts on the
video
driveway.
Game. Yeah, I can feel a little bit like, and then Brighton's sounding out a word for a really long time.
Yeah.
You know, but there we are. So are there any of the... Are there any of the pieces of advice of the people that you have beef with online that you've been like, oh, that's good? Or is it generally like, this is completely ridiculous?
I mean, some of the things, again, it's just everything. Like, so I'm going through here. It's like, instead of saying, you're stop playing with the baby's toys, say, do you want to show the baby how she can play with her own toys? Like sometimes like, stop doing that. Like, don't hit your brother. Like, so I'm a stop hitting your brother. And if you don't, this is the consequence. I'm not, let's find a new way to use your feelings to show how frustrated you are in this moment.
Have you ever had a conflict with one of the boys where the other parent, like somebody hits one of your boys and the other parent comes in and deals with it that way? That is very annoying.
No, and so we actually had something at a playground recently, and a total stranger's kid pushed Hudson. Now it turns out that he thought Hudson, because the mom was like, look, I swear. And she showed me a picture of the other kid who her son thought Hudson was. She's like, it's a friend of his that he roughhouses with. And she thought he was because fair. What happened was the kid, let's say the kid, he thought it was Max or something. So he was like, Max, like trying to get Hudson's attention. And of course, Hudson's ignoring him because his name's not Max. And then he pushed him and Hudson was like, hey, that kid pushed me. And the mom was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He looks just like his friend Max. He thought he was ignoring him and trying to get, and I was like, oh, that's
probably shouldn't have pushed Max either. Right. Side note.
How we treat Max, but like, I don't know, that's, but no, that's always also weird, like at a playground, like when you're like, your kid sucks, like go
so weird
away.
So weird. Sometimes Brighton will befriend somebody and I'm just like, oh my gosh, not a good influence. Like I don't want, like we have to leave immediately.
Okay. So, and again, I think that we should try, and it's not even the things like, okay, instead of saying be careful, say, this particular thing is dangerous, or it's not even any of that. It's just the proliferation. Is that the word?
Of this being like a profession?
Everybody, right? Responsive parenting, good parenting, gentle parenting, like whatever, all of the, it's like everywhere I turn, there's someone who's like, but did you think about doing it this way? Which
Tell
frankly,
me you had kids later in life without telling me you had kids later in
seriously,
life.
right? I mean, it's almost, I would imagine it's how people probably feel about the gays, right? I mean, like where they're like, oh shit, look how good they do that. How did you do that?
Yeah.
Look at those pillows.
Yeah.
Look at that karate chop in the pillow.
Yeah.
And we're just like, that's just what we do.
Yeah, and the way that you like have two handy people at your house.
Yeah. I had a neighbor literally just contact me recently and be like, we need to build a 1930s apple cart by Monday for the school production of Annie. And I was like, give me 10 minutes. I'll meet you at Home Depot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Done.
That is a little infuriating. And two big incomes. Not always.
Not always, but
Not
yeah,
always,
I guess.
But
right?
you know, but here's one that I actually love.
Okay.
That I've screenshotted. My house is a mess. I am not a mess. I am good inside, even when there is mess on the outside. Because Brighton will say things like, I couldn't sound out that word. I'm a bad reader. She'll do flat out declarations. So I feel like I know. So it's been helpful for me to say that word was hard for you. You're not a bad reader, or whatever the comparison is, or like we had incentivized her. It was just a terrible. We will never do this again. She wanted that tumbling mat from Coach Whitney. Right. I was like, cool. When you get your round off back handspring, we'll get you one because it's $1 billion.
Speaking of which, I just saw her on Instagram recently, like just flipping her little heart out,
flipping around.
She was so good.
Well, she had like a mental breakthrough because we took the pressure off the mat. I shouldn't have had her doing the skill and incentivize the thing
the carrot, right?
Yeah,
sure.
We should have been like, if you make your bed every day, or if you're always on time to get ready for school, or something like that, not related to the skill. Because I truly have
those
no
are
skin.
also.
I don't care if she gets a back handspring. It doesn't increase her value as a child.
Right, but you know what? Making your bed is not a. This is not a skill you need. It's something you already know how to do. I just need you to do it consistently. There's a difference between saying, I need you to do what you do consistently, or I need you to master this new thing in order to get something new. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it truly made it seem like I had skin in the game with like that. I valued her more because she would do her back handspring. No, what I valued was making sure that I was going to be spending all this money on something that she actually wanted to do.
I honestly could not believe when I looked up how much those mats were. I mean, Coach Whitney, I don't know how much they are to manufacture, but those are not cheap.
No, and they last forever though. People have had them for years. That's so. But do you see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want this to be a whim where next year she's like, I don't really want to cheer. I don't want to tumble anymore. I want to do basketball instead. Yes. I want to not be annoyed when she says that. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I did that incentive. But
here's the thing also. So I did recently, I saw one and I was like, cause we talked about this and I've told many people over since we had this conversation, I was asking you how many times a day do you raise your voice at your child? And you were like, maybe one. And you're like, what? She's a daughter. Like and we have two boys and whatever.
Your boys are so good though.
They are.
Honestly. Is it because you raise your voice at them constantly?
Maybe, I don't know. But you know what? I mean, and really, honestly, when we hang out with other people's kids, sometimes you're like, wow, we really do have great little kiddos, right? More so, I mean, their friends at school are pretty awesome, but like just seeing kids in the wild sometimes, and you're like, God, we really are lucky.
If you take your kids to the DMV.
But like, so there was somebody on Instagram, and I was like, okay, because again, that's something I was working on. Like, I was like, gosh, I do raise my voice where I'm like, like the 8th time I'm telling you to put your shoes on, So the advice was, tell instead of like, be like, oh, dude, it makes me sad when you don't listen.
See, I feel like that's kind of toxic.
It was awful. So I tried it and I was like,
that's super toxic.
First of all, let's see. Well, guess which one I tried it with. Who do you think would have the stronger reaction to that?
Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, buddy, it makes me, I was like, oh, and I was like, nope, and I was like, hey, it makes me really sad when you don't listen to me. And he looked at me with those big green eyes that he has and just started crying. And he was like, oh, I mean, he felt terrible.
Because now he's responsible for your emotions.
Hurt my feelings.
Which the people that I follow on Instagram would indicate that you're not supposed to make your child feel responsible for your emotions.
Well, and thus is my beef with this whole thing, that everybody is on here that because they know how to make an infographic, which means that they're an expert in parenting.
Because
right?
they have a Canva account.
Because they have a Canva account, right? And meanwhile, here I am telling my 6-year-old that he's responsible for my emotional well-being and I'm like,
Poor
well,
Jacob.
there's a core memory that we're not going to be able to
The
erase.
time I made Daddy so sad because I didn't put my shoes on the first time.
You know?
Yeah, maybe on Hudson.
Right?
Maybe it's a case by case, like a child by child. No, Brighton could never handle that either. I mean, she would same thing. I mean, she would legitimately cry and then she would bring it up maybe years later. I mean, she'll go deep with things. So I think that's why I'm so paranoid and trying to follow the things that the people say to do, because I know she will circle back if I had,
Yeah, it's hard though, because again, I think that everybody is, because listen, I think that it's our nature to just want the secret sauce, right? We're like, just I mean, years ago, I suffered or went through a kind of a weight loss journey, and it was like, everyone's like, how did you do it? And I was like, listen, get your pen out. Listen, here we go. I eat less, move more.
Ugh.
That turns out was the solution. I mean, I had tried acupuncture and like all of the diets and
so
all of the
acupuncture
things.
doesn't. I'd always been curious about that.
I had my ears
if that
stapled.
worked.
I mean, it was like just ridiculous.
Wrong
I mean,
orifice.
right? Exactly. I should have my mouth stapled. I mean, but it was like just so. At the end of the day, when we're talking about like, okay, like everyone's looking for like, how do I have the best kids? And sometimes it's like, it's okay to suck at certain stuff,
Is it?
Yes, 100%. Because
I agree with other stuff, but parenting, I just feel like I put so much weight on it.
But if my kids see that I'm not perfect, then I think that it alleviates the pressure of them to be perfect. Like it's okay that you suck at football, because guess what? So do I. I also suck at like yelling at you when you have to put your shoes on,
And also at that time I told you made me sad.
Oh my God, he was so upset.
I have seen that advice, but then I've seen the opposite where it's like, it's very confusing.
Right.
It's very confusing.
And listen, everyone's like, well, you have to gently, like, no, like, have you ever, again, with this
I've
new
seen
baby,
some bad kids.
right?
I've seen some bad kids that are the result of gentle
it is
parenting.
like negotiating with terrorists, like, yeah, right? Like we have, and I will say we're really good at like bed, like it's bedtime, done. Like they can kind of chit chat, they share a room, whatever, but it's like, these are the rules. This is the order. This is the structure. This is how this, kind of all works. I have such a hard time with putting a hard out time though on bedtime, because I feel like that's when Brighton will really give it to me in terms of like what happened that day. Well, because she's manipulating you. She's not interested in talking to you. She's interested in expanding her time of the day.
I know, but what if I'm parenting based on fear, Steve. And I think that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but it's the way I'm doing it.
Oh, Lord. Okay. We, of course, would love to hear how you all do it. Feel free to sound off in the comments. And if you have a Canva account and some good advice, I mean, go ahead and spread it.
I'll probably follow it.
What's the worst? What's the worst that could happen? I'll tell you this. You'll have Jenny Anchondo as a follower. We would love for you to follow us. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and share your favorite episodes with friends. Remember, new one every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. And if you do nothing else today, find yourself a friend you don't need to clean the house for.